Are you thinking about moving to the Rapid City or Black Hills area in 2025? Well, you're in luck because we're going to talk all about the steps involved in buying a property in our area for you coming from out of town in 2025. Hey everybody, it's Tristan Emond with Mindful Living Realty, your realtor right here in Rapid City, South Dakota, the gateway to the Black Hills. Whether you just kind of got the idea in your head to think about South Dakota for a moving destination, or you've had it on your radar for a while, let's talk about the ABCs of getting into a property here in 2025. The first step is research.
This is where the fun begins.
Which, if you're watching this video right now, you're probably already in. That's exactly what my channel is all about. I've got over 400 videos on this channel talking about moving to the area, living in the area, and what's real estate like in the area. So my first tip for you in your research stage is to watch the videos. They will probably answer the majority of the questions that you are asking yourself. What about the weather? I mean, hey, it's in wintertime in South Dakota. What about the schools? How are things going to work for me moving in there? What's the cost of living like? All of these questions I've answered somewhere in this catalog of videos. I had one guy that started at the very beginning, like some old 2012 market video that was really bad, and watched all the videos all the way up in double speed to get all the information. Once you start watching a few videos and get an idea of whether or not this area is right for you or not, it's time to start maybe looking at some properties. You can go to my website, rapidhomesonline.com, and register for an account where you can start looking and searching for all the properties in your price range all over the Black Hills. My website has all the active listings from Rapid City, the Black Hills, and around. Any agent that lives in the Rapid City area or the Black Hills area, any listing that they have, they put on the MLS system, that'll be on my website. What this does is really give you a good idea of what you can expect to buy for the price point that you're interested in. For example, if you're dreaming of a log cabin in the Black Hills and you only have $200,000 to spend, you're going to find out really quick that that just doesn't exist. One of the most important things about this research stage is getting your expectations in the right place, getting real about what's actually around and what's going on here in Rapid City and the Black Hills. Next, I always encourage a visit to our area. Now this is great because the Black Hills are right there. You can mix it with a vacation. There's a lot of things to do and see, especially during the summertime when everything is open, but there's a lot of other wonderful things to see in the fall, spring, and the wintertime as well. And sometimes people like to come up here during winter so they can get a feel of what it's actually like to live here during the wintertime. When you get that trip scheduled, hit me up. Let's get together and at least have a conversation about real estate in Rapid City, and I can answer your questions about Rapid City and the area. I'll get out my Rapid City map and a Black Hills map, and we'll go over just a really good overview of what you can expect in the different areas of Rapid City and the Black Hills. And we'll talk about your goals, what you're thinking, your dreams for a potential move to our area. And even if our area is just in the possibility stages, maybe it's a few years down the road, I still love to meet with you. We can have the conversation. A lot of times that will give you the yes or no really fast. Also, depending on my schedule and where you are in your process, sometimes I like to take you driving through some of the neighborhoods to give you a really good insider look at the neighborhoods that you're interested in, the price points that you're interested in. That goes a long way to help you see, yes, I like this, no, I don't, maybe I want to up my price a little bit, all the different things. I've done this so many times for the past few years, and it's something that really helps everybody get a real good grasp of what they can expect moving to the area. However, if you're thinking about a log cabin or some land anywhere from between Spearfish and Hot Springs in the Black Hills, I'll probably just print out some data sheets for you, send you off on your way so you can take some time and drive through the Black Hills, check out all the different properties with those data sheets and the directions on them. And while you're here visiting, make sure that you do the things you would as a local. It's a lot different being here as a tourist than being as a local. Go to the grocery store, check out the shopping centers, go to the library if that's what you're interested in. All of these things will help you make the decision if Rapid City and the Black Hills is for you or not. I've had a lot of people come here and just like, as soon as I came over the hill, I knew it was home. And other people that said, I came here and I just didn't get it. I just didn't feel it. I'd rather have you visit and say no than come up here and decide, crap, I don't love it up here at all. I want you to love where you live. So I want to make sure that when you visit, make sure that you have all the information that you need to make the decision. Okay, now that you've made your decision, okay, I think I want to do this Black Hills thing. The next step is money. Money by the pound. How are you going to buy what you want to buy? Are you going to pay cash or are you going to need a mortgage to buy the property? Obviously, cash is king. It's so much easier to buy a property with cash than it is through a mortgage, there's so many fewer hoops that you have to jump through. However, when we present an offer, and this is kind of getting up a few steps, but let's just put it in here right now. When we present an offer to a potential seller, we'll need some sort of statement that says, hey, yes, this person has the money to make this purchase. The most preferable way would for this to be a letter from a banker or from your financial advisor that says, hey, so-and-so has the funds to make this purchase, period. That's all we needed to say. But sometimes that's not easy. You don't have a person that really runs that for you. So we need a screenshot of your account numbers, and we'll just line out the account number showing that you have the funds to make this purchase that you're working on purchasing. If you need a loan to buy the property, I will always encourage you to go local. Local lending companies will get the job done better and usually cheaper than your national companies. I had a situation last year where I had some buyers that were using a national company to buy the property with an FHA loan. That required a 3.5% down payment, and they would have to sell their camper to make this happen. That was the plan. We're going to sell the camper, and that's where our earnest money is going to come from, or that's where our down payment is going to come from. This company was not authorized to do a South Dakota housing loan, which is your first-time home buyer loan programs. Once I got my people over to the local lender with the South Dakota housing program, they had no down payment. They actually had a lower monthly payment somehow, and they didn't have to sell their camper. Always go local. Not only will you usually save money, they'll get things done quicker and more efficient because they're here and they know how things go. Usually the national companies, you've got a loan originator that you're talking to, then there's a processor. There's 3 or 4 different people that you're kind of working with through the whole process instead of just 1 or 2 here locally. Even if you need to sell your property before you get out here, that's something that the lender will be able to say, okay, yep, once we get your home sold, then we'll have the money to move it over here, etc., or whatever else they have to do. I always recommend that you do this sooner rather than later. Number 1, so you know how much you can afford. That way we're not dreaming about the $500,000 homes when you can only afford $400,000. Number 2, it's best to have time if there are any credit issues, something you need to fix. If there's time to get that done, then we can get that done in a timely manner so that we're not behind the gun finding something, then realizing, oh, I got to fix some credit, and we lose a property that you really love because we didn't get that done already. Yes, mortgage pre-approvals only last for 90 days or something like that, but it's a whole lot easier just to renew that than it is to do the whole process all from scratch. Even if you're 6 months out, getting that pre-approval, making sure everything is square on that end is far more preferable than waiting for the 6 months and then realizing, oh, I got to do all this work, and then you're another 3 months out before you can actually buy. I do have a number of local lenders that I love to work with that I will share with you, and you can have conversations with them. When I tell you to have conversations with them, you're talking to somebody about your financial everything for like months. So you want to like the person. You've got a mixture of different people. One's very friendly and down to earth. The other one's a little more numbers oriented, very type A. And so depending on who you are and your match, you might appreciate or like one versus the other. So make sure you make the phone calls, just have the conversation initially to see if you like them, to see if you like to work with them. You'll also be able to get an idea from both sides, what their closing costs are, what their interest rates are, all the different things on that level. While we're talking money, we have to talk about interest rates. At the end of 2024, there was talk about, oh yeah, they're going to start going down. By the end of 2025, we're probably going to be, in the mid 5s. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. We've seen rates kind of jump back up here the past few months. So if you're thinking about buying a property, I wouldn't plan on a lower interest rate. I would work with what you have at the interest rate we have presently to buy whatever you need. Based on everything going on, I just don't know that they're actually going to come down next year. It might be another year or two before we actually see some relief in that category, depending on how all the economy stuff goes on, etc. The third step is where I come in officially.
What can I say except you're welcome?
Hopefully by the time you've watched my videos, we've visited together, you are comfortable enough with me that you would like to hire me to work with you to help purchase your property here in the Rapid City or Black Hills area. If you haven't already figured out from the videos, I am pretty easygoing. I'm not here to super sales you. I just want to make sure that you find the right place for you, and that's what's most important to me. However, this is still a business, and I have rules and regulations to follow. One of these rules is the buyer agreement. Last year, the National Association of Realtors, which I have to be a part of my MLS board, is requiring us to get a buyer broker agreement signed before we do any showing virtually or otherwise. What this is about a 4-page document that talks about how I, A realtor in South Dakota can help you, the public. It talks about the different ways I can represent you or represent the seller or represent both of you. It then also talks about my obligations to you, your obligations to me, and how I'm going to get paid in this whole scenario. Now, there's a clause that pretty much says that you're responsible for paying me a certain percentage for my work to help you find a property. When we present an offer to the seller, there is a clause in our purchase agreement contracts that talks about, seller, I want you to pay my buyer's agent X amount. So that all kind of gets taken care of at that point. When you're out of town trying to buy a property here, it is imperative that you have someone that's here to be your eyes, your nose, your ears, your legs. I can also tell you things about different areas and different neighborhoods that are known. For example, this neighborhood over here, I wouldn't sell a house to you in that neighborhood at all because there was a sinkhole in that neighborhood in 2020. This neighborhood over here, they've had bad water. They've had well issues, those type of things. I cannot tell you this is a good neighborhood. This is a bad neighborhood. That is called steering. It is against the fair housing regulations. That is a federal law. I will put together a whole video about things I can and cannot say that I'll put up here somewhere in the dip somewhere. I'll put it. Yeah. Fair housing comes down to me not being able to give my opinion about certain things for you. You need to make your own decisions about whether you like this neighborhood or whether you like that neighborhood. Some people with different experiences might think one neighborhood is not a big deal and others wouldn't live there if their life depended on it. So it's up to you to make these decisions. I'll guide you to where you can find some information, where you can find the facts, but I cannot tell you this is good or this is bad. All right, step number 4, we've got me signed up to be your buyer's agent and we're ready to rock and roll and start looking at properties.
What do you need? What do you need?
When we get to this stage, I like to really start narrowing down what you're looking for, and I'll get you from my website to the back end of our MLS system that has a little bit more data and more data points that we can select for. For instance, if you say I definitely want a main floor laundry, I can search for just that in our MLS system, and every time a new one with main floor laundry pops up, boom, you get the email saying, hey, check it out. Once you decide, hey, I want to look at these properties, we schedule a time to go look at them together. I get you on my phone, and I usually use Google Meet because it seems to have a little bit less juice than Zoom, and I'll walk you through the property, talking to you what I see, talking to you about what I hear, talking to you about what I smell, very important. As I'm looking at the property, I point at, hey, this is the siding, this is the heating, this looks good, doesn't look so great, and I make sure that you get a real good feel for the entire property and answer any questions that you might have. I've been doing it this way for a number of years now, and a number of people have even bought properties sight unseen, not actual stuff, but just through the video. And I asked them later, I said, okay, when you got here and physically walked in the house, did you feel like it was a good representation of what you were expecting? And they said, yeah, this is exactly what I was expecting. Now, depending on who you are, you might want to walk in the property. My wife is super sensitive. She'd want to actually feel what the home felt like. If that's you, we can schedule a time when you come up here and we can look at as many as we can over a weekend, over a couple of days, to make sure you see as many as possible, and then you can make your decision. Fortunately, the market is right now in a situation where we can actually look at more than 1 or 2. We could probably see 6, maybe 10, maybe 12 properties for you to get a good feel of what you can expect in that price point and make your decision. However, I'm expecting that market to really heat up in the spring. And while it's probably not going to be like 2021, where if you didn't look at a property the day it was listed and put an offer with $10,000 above average, I mean, it was a mess. But if you really liked a property, we might not have time for you to fly up here, take a look at it, and put an offer in. By that time, it might be gone. So sometimes what I like to do is we put an offer on a property and you come up for the home inspection 7 to 10 days later. That gives you a chance to get into the property, gives you a chance to really check everything out. You're talking with the home inspector one-on-one and you get a good feel for the structural integrity of the property. And then you can decide, you know what, this isn't really what I was thinking. I'm not happy with it now that I'm here and looking at it. And then at least we have an opportunity to get out of the property based on the home inspection. And this is something that doesn't need to happen over a weekend. Maybe you're looking for something very specific and it's going to take some time to find that right property. We can just do some 1s and 2s showings until we get to the point where we find the one that works for you. That's how it works. Quick note about buying a home in wintertime. Now, I know that moving in winter is not at the top of your hit list right now. However, the real estate market usually slows down starting about November through the holidays and then kind of starts slowly ramping up from January, February. Sometimes we can get our spring market as early as March. Sometimes the spring market doesn't hit till May. So depending on the year, you might be able to find some properties that have been sitting on the market for a while that have been price reduced, and then you could get a pretty decent deal. I'm closing on a property tomorrow that was originally listed at $325,000. My buyer is getting it for $300,000. So he actually got a pretty good discount because the seller was really ready to get done with it and sell it. Obviously, I can't guarantee every deal will be like that, but generally you can get a better deal in the wintertime. You have more sellers that are selling, and the sellers that are selling are wanting to sell. They need to sell for some reason or another. And there are fewer buyers out there because a lot of buyers are like, well, wait till spring. So your opportunity could be in the wintertime. All right, now that we found the property that you're interested in buying, now we put together a purchase agreement.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
This document talks about the earnest money we put down. We talk about how much we want to offer on the property. We talk about that home inspection time frame. And then there's a clause about closing costs if you need the seller to help pay for some of your closing costs. A ballpark is 2 to 3% of the purchase price is what those closing costs are probably going to be. And then there's a clause, as I mentioned earlier, that talks about, hey, I want you, seller, to pay my buyer's agent this percentage. And then everything is negotiable at that point. And of course, the other thing on here is the closing date. Now, typically in our area, it takes about 30 to 45 days to close a mortgage loan. So we have to wait for the appraiser to get there and then the bank to do their thing. So it takes about 30 to 45 days for everything to happen from purchase agreement acceptance to closing. So keep that in mind as you're going through this process. The other thing that we'll add, if necessary, is the home sale contingency. If you must sell your property here before you can buy a property over here. And then there's a few options that go along with that we won't get into detail right here. Once we get all those terms together, we get all the disclosures put together, we get the bill of sale put together, which transfers like the refrigerator, the stove, anything that's not attached to the property will be transferred to you via the bill of sale. In your state, some things might be common, like for instance, the washer and dryer might normally convey in your state, not necessarily in South Dakota. If it's not on the bill of sale, it does not come with the property. So once we put all this together, I send it to you, I email it to you for your signature, and that's all electronic signature. You send it back to me, we present to the seller, we counter back and forth, and we move forward with the process. Now, when you sign this document, there is no get out of jail free card here. It says that you intend to buy this property per the terms of the contract. And the only way that you can get out of this deal is per the terms of the contract. Other states have like a 3 or 4 or 5 day rescinding period. None of that here. If you present an offer and the seller signs it, you are buying the property as per the contract. I've had some people out of town, they presented the offer, they got it accepted, and all of a sudden they went, wait a minute, that moved too fast. So make sure if you sign that purchase agreement that you're ready to buy, you're ready to move forward. So I don't have to have an uncomfortable conversation with the listing agent saying, yeah, they don't want to buy it anymore. And then we have to draw up a cancellation of the purchase agreement, which has to be signed by both parties, which can get really annoying. If you sign the document, be prepared to buy it. Now that the seller has accepted your offer, it's time to talk about the next step, the closing process.
General.
Like a piece of cake.
We've got about a 14-day time period to get the inspection done and present something to the seller that says, hey, we're happy with it as it is, or I want you to fix A, B, C, and D. And then we have a little mini negotiation session over who's going to fix what and what all is going to happen. Once that's clear, we're waiting for the bank to send the appraiser if you've got a mortgage. If not, we can pretty much close in the next week or two if you wanted. But typically we're waiting for that appraiser to come by, look at the property, get that data back to the bank. The bank runs their data, makes sure that everything is good with you. And in this whole process, of course, the lender is telling you they need all sorts of crap. So get everything you need to the lender as soon as possible to make sure that we move forward with this process as quickly as possible. Once the lender has all the information and they're happy, they give us the clear to close, and we'll need about a 3-day time period after that before we can actually close. Right before we close, we do a walkthrough inspection of the property to make sure that, the sellers left the refrigerator and didn't. I had one scenario where we walked in the door and there was above the range microwave that they had removed, and they replaced the old 70s hood, the old arm is terrible. They didn't even paint or nothing. And in which case we had to say to the seller, hey, that was there, it's attached, we need it back, thank you very much. So it's very important to do that final walkthrough. That day of closing, we go to the title company, we sign the documents, and you are a proud owner of a new home in the Rapid City or Black Hills area. We can still close away. If you need to close where you are and you can't quite make it here for closing, all that's possible. I'll do the final walkthrough for you again on camera. We'll make sure everything is as we expected it to be. The one thing we'll need to make sure though is that there is enough time. Due to the fraud going around and title companies wanted to make sure that you are who you say you are, they're going to hire a mobile notary to go to your place, have you sign the documents, or a place that you agree on, have you sign the documents, and then they're going to send all those documents back, FedEx, to the title company. Until we get that back, we cannot close. So usually that takes an extra week or so for all that piece, all those processes to kind of roll through there. So we'll make sure that we are aware of what needs to be done. If you do need to sign away, that we know where things are at, and we make sure that we're taking care of that prior to close. All right, there you have it. The steps to buying a home from out of town in 2025. Now, I've also created a step-by-step buyer's guide to buying a property. This goes over each phase of the process in about 2 to 3 minutes of a video each, to give you a very good idea of all the details of the process. I'll put a link to that playlist down below. If you're still watching at this point, you're probably really interested in a move to our area. So don't forget to download my relocation guide, 13 Reasons You Should Move to Rapid City, South Dakota. I'll put that link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. Have an amazing day. And remember, love where you live.